Alright guys, here's what's happening. In a month from now, there's going to be an F110 competition. There's going to be an F110 competition happening in Texas, where there's going to be a bunch of self-driving RC cars racing against each other. And I just bought my plane tickets, which means I'm finally going to be able to race my self-driving RC car against other people. Now, before I get ahead of myself, let me remind you that my car can't really avoid obstacles. But that's not going to cut it for the competition, because I want my car to not only avoid obstacles, but also overtake other cars. I got 4 weeks to figure this out, so let's get to work. Now, autonomous head-to-head racing is very much so an unsolved problem. One of the main challenges, even for humans, is that when racing against someone, you don't know exactly how they're going to drive. Here, it's very hard to predict what line your opponent will take and when they're going to slow down and turn. So you just try to make the best decisions based on the information you have and what's most likely to happen. And with these cars going at such high speeds, all these decisions need to be made in just a few milliseconds. Now, professional racing drivers can pull off these insane neck-to-neck races against each other without crashing because they've developed years of intuition about racing. But even they aren't infallible. Which begs the question, how the hell are we supposed to get this working on an AI?
Who the hell didn't unfreeze the chicken?
There's this very recent reinforcement learning paper that came out in 2023 where they trained an AI to race against other opponents through self-play. And it came up with some pretty good strategies that even our current world champion Max Verstappen uses, including forcing an opponent off the road, doing a hit and run on the opponent, and blocking the opponent's cornering.
Max, why have you had so many accidents?
So yeah, reinforcement learning definitely seems extremely promising. But one of the issues with these learning-based algorithms is that they take a very long time to get working right in the real world. And these models are usually track specific, meaning that you need to train an entirely new model for every track that you want to race on. And for me, on a day of the competition, I only have like 2 hours to prepare everything. So I don't really have the time to train an AI. Not that it mattered, because I don't even know how reinforcement learning works. So instead, I came up with my own algorithm. Why is this code so slow? Dude, why are these things turning like fidget spinners? And should work.
It was at this moment that he knew.
2 weeks later.
Do you see that? That is my obstacle avoidance thing working. And you just saw it was overtaking this car, which was going pretty slow. Here's some intuition on how the algorithm actually works. For an AI to properly race against an opponent, it first needs to know where the opponent is on the map so that we can avoid colliding into him and overtake him if possible. There's a lot of fancy ways to do this, like training deep learning models and doing some sort of object detection, but there's a much simpler way, and it's to use something called an occupancy grid. They're super commonly used in robotics, and their purpose is to tell you exactly which areas of the map are occupied in real time. Actually, you've already seen this when we ran SLAM to map out our building, because the map generated here is basically also an occupancy grid. The difference here is that the SLAM map is an offline occupancy grid, whereas the one that we want is generated in real time. So we'll know if an obstacle or a car is in front of us if our occupancy grid shows us these black cells in front of us. Now, to actually generate this occupancy grid, we can take our LiDAR measurements, which give us distances at specific angles, and using basic high school trigonometry, we project these LiDAR scans onto the grid and assign them to the nearest cell. Now, at first, I was processing each LiDAR scan individually in a for loop, but that made the code run so slowly. So a neat trick I found is to parallelize this code with the help of NumPy by converting my scan measurements into... Nobody cares, bro. If there are no obstacles, then it's just going to follow the racing line. But if there is an obstacle, it's going to try to plan around the obstacle to follow that waypoint. All right, let's go test it out on the real world. But first, let me fix up this car because I kind of destroyed it in my previous video. I don't want it to be too tight. This seems perfect. I'm gonna do some stress testing on. Let's do 20,000. Did you guys see that? That is insane. Now, I didn't have a second RC car on hand, so I just used my backpack and some garbage bins to simulate the opponent's presence. Now, my initial tests seemed to show that my algorithm was working quite well, but once I started driving this car at higher speeds,
oh, that didn't work.
It just crashes into the trash. So then I started playing around with the steering gain so that the car would drive more aggressively when it sees the obstacle. And that seemed to help quite a bit. As you can see here, I got a few really good runs. What the hell, man? What is going on? Well, there's one more detail I didn't explain. You see, there's another algorithm that I'm using to plan a path around the obstacle, and it's called RRT. It's also very commonly used in robotics, but because it is a sampling-based algorithm, it can sometimes be very unreliable. Here, I'm clearly standing in front of the car. And you can see that even though I'm not moving, the car isn't moving, the RRT algorithm seems to be very undecisive about whether it should go around the left or around the right. And it produces these very jagged paths. And so I'm thinking that's maybe why at higher speeds, my car just can't avoid these obstacles. So it's been a few days and I made some changes. Instead of using RRT, which produces these in-between points in order to reach the target waypoint and is very slow and inefficient, I thought, why don't we just directly shift the target waypoint by a tiny bit? Maybe let's consider 5 points on the left and 5 points on the right, and then we can try driving towards one of these points. And it ends up looking like some sort of lane switching algorithm, where we're trying to switch to one of these new lanes without running into anything. And as soon as the racing line frees up, we can get back onto it. And here's the algorithm working in simulation. For static objects, it does really well, it's very reliable. And for moving obstacles, it can overtake pretty well if the opponent is moving pretty slowly. But if both cars are at the same speed, the car kind of gets stuck behind, or if it tries to overtake, it's gonna go for a gap that no longer exists, as you can see here. But overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with this. So let's go out and test it out and see if my algorithm actually works.
Oh, that's really good. Dude, Ethan, my drone won!
The algorithm and the car were finally looking like they were coming together.
That's fire. Oh my god. That's actually so good.
It was going around these obstacles like they were nothing. But we're not only here to avoid obstacles, we're here to race, which means we need to push this car to its limits. Okay, maybe let's not crash the car first. Beautiful. That's what I'm talking about. Well, I finally got some new tires. These are not exactly slick, but they should do the job. They're getting better grip. Oh, so this is the reason men die younger.
Look at this dude.
Yay, I survived. Everything was looking good. Time before the competition was ticking, but I was making solid progress, and the car was slowly but surely driving faster and reliably without crashing. I was feeling confident, but at this point, I have no idea how fast my opponents are going to be. So we gotta keep pushing. Everything is on the line, and I'm not going to lose this competition. Oh, shit. Well, guys, would you look at that? I freaking broke the suspension for real this time. God, I texted my professor informing him of the damage, and let me tell you, he was not impressed. I told you we are Team Haas right now. You're going Mick Schumacher on us, and I'll have to turn into Gunther Steiner soon. Oh god, that was a terrible impression. It might have seemed like he was joking, but deep down, I knew my professor was right. Because we were going up against the Red Bulls, the Mercedes, and the Ferraris that had spare cars ready to go, while we were barely struggling to keep one car together. How was I supposed to win this competition? Go to every day. Thankfully, the replacement parts arrived before the competition began, but now that I was home back with family, I had nowhere to test the car. So I had to, improvise. It ended up not even working here because the space was too open for the LiDAR to localize. So I then went to my old high school's locker room. And once again, my algorithm proved to be extremely good at crashing into things.
Oh!
Hey guys, quick update. My flight is exactly at 7 a.m. so I have to wake up in about 3 hours to go to the airport. I'm not feeling confident at all. I've been trying to test out my car here in Montreal. I tried like 5 different areas, but every single time the car was really having trouble localizing, and so my algorithm might flop completely. If my car crashes at the competition, then like I'm like, you know, I've been preparing for this competition since like September of last year, and I've been working on this car mostly just like by myself, competing against like people from Carnegie Mellon University, and they're all teams of 4 or 3. And yeah, I'm just going in solo for this competition. Don't know what to expect, but yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll try to get some rest. It was finally time to go compete.
What's up, man? Good to meet you.
Good to finally meet. Oh, by the way, this is Corey. Hello. He's a professional racing driver, and he was super nice to help me out the whole weekend, so you'll see him in the rest of the video. And in preparation for the competition, we actually went go-karting, so I could truly be one with the car. And it was super fun, except my wheel fell off.
Your wheel fell off. Missing a wheel.
How the hell does a wheel fall off a go-kart? But yeah, look at those sexy racing lines, man. We saw some real cars race. I did a lot of overtaking, but this was all just a distraction from my impending doom tomorrow.
All right, good morning. We are on our way to the competition. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I am really looking forward to racing my car, seeing what other teams have.
Now, just like a real F1 race, this competition is split into 2 days, a qualifying day and a race day. And today, we're qualifying. Now, if you guys have watched my previous videos, you already know the steps to get this car racing autonomously on a new track. But here's a quick refresher. First, I map out the track using SLAM so that the car knows where it is. Then I clean up this map, removing any imperfections, and then I use a script to extract a center line and plug it through my raceline solver. This generates a racing line, and then I can load it into my obstacle avoiding algorithm that controls the car. I did all of this in around an hour with some minor hiccups, but things were looking good, and I started doing some laps around the track.
Whoa! Oh my!
And soon enough, it was time for my qualifying.
Can you guys go over?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna do.
How are you feeling right now, Steven?
I'm nervous. And the way this works is each team gets 2 5-minute dedicated sessions, where then try to get the fastest lap and complete the most number of laps. And this was going to determine the seeding for tomorrow's race. And qualifying has started. We're looking pretty good here. Let's see if my car can stay on track. Yes, it can. Okay, let's go. The floor was actually super slippy, even though it doesn't seem like it, and I didn't want to take any risk. I could have gone faster, but I think this is good enough. Yes, we got an 18-second lap, and look at it drift. I'm not going to show you guys the entire qualifying, but to be fully transparent with you guys, it did sometimes run into the wall and even crash entirely. Now, I was still pretty happy with my first qualifying session because I did get the fastest lap, but we also need to aim for the biggest total number of laps.
Okay, there's one more team that's done more laps. Okay, so we're gonna go.
So on the second run, I slowed the car down, and hopefully that will get me a more reliable car so I can complete more laps. And what you're looking at is a time lapse of my second qualifying session. And how do I put it? I didn't get a single lap in. My God.
That's what you deserve. Why are you not working?
Yeah, that was not the best qualifying. I'm quite disappointed. Now for a dedicated racetrack, you would think that it would be easier to localize in than what I was using back in Waterloo, but it was actually harder. There's several reasons for this. The first reason is that the walls are black. Okay, that sounds racially motivated. I mean, it tends to absorb the lighter scans more than, say, the white walls that I had back home. But that's not the main reason. The main reason is that people like myself, idiots, crash into the track. And since these walls aren't stuck to the floor, the map that I'm using to localize is actually changing over time. So it starts becoming really difficult for the robot to figure out where it is.
What are we looking at here?
This is Red Bull's Racer. This
Wow.
is our NC State team.
Yes.
I got a chance to talk to quite a few teams, and it was fascinating to learn about the different algorithms that they were using.
Network?
Yep, on your network.
They're using AI.
What is this you got going on here?
That's
You can use your imagination.
Why did you drew some hair here?
I did a few more runs at night before calling it a day, and here were the final standings after qualification. The Mercedes team were looking very strong with their beautiful map, alongside the Red Bull from Mr. Christian Horner. Surprisingly, I still had the fastest lap by the end of the day, but I did not complete a lot of laps. So we really have to step it up for tomorrow if we want to win.
This is sort of the culmination of all my hard work, all those videos you guys saw, everything I've been working on since September of last year. I'm just really praying that everything's gonna work out.
You can always go faster, you know? The consistency comes first.
3, 2, 1, go! Okay, we've gone to a fast start. Oh yeah, sorry, CO2 is also a fast start. And this time they are overtaking the corner.
I'm really worried about the localization issues. On my second qualifying yesterday, as you know, I didn't get a single lap in. You know how embarrassing that would be if that's actually what happened with the race? And it's an elimination round, and I really don't want to go out first round.
Once again going around the track. Nearly on the straight. They're fast, on their way.
It was clear at this point I was having a lot of trouble localizing, but I just had to keep going.
Yes, yes.
At this moment, I was completely defeated. All those hundreds of hours of hard work that I've invested into developing this RC car just went out of the window. You know how disappointing that feels?
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, my localization, I tried so hard to make it work. You know, I photoshopped the map probably over 20 times and it would start working, but then the track would start changing and I would lose myself again.
Now, if there was one thing that did make me feel better, it was that I wasn't the only one facing these awful localization issues. And one team in particular.
The map changed too much. Somehow I kept losing localization all along the track. I was doing really good.
Okay. Yeah. You're not gonna, so you're gonna go crazy on the race?
On the race. Right.
For the first time in history, Red Bull and Haas shared something in common.
We both suck today, so, you know.
Now, who ended up winning the competition, you might ask? Well, this team didn't crash a single time throughout the competition, and they were still very fast. They had a very similar approach to me, and this was their map. That's right, it was the Mercedes team with their map of a woman spreading her legs out that won the competition. That is ridiculous. And here is one of their laps. They drove, as I said, incredibly consistently. And here they're racing the McLaren team, which is the team that was using the deep learning method, and they actually almost came second in the race. They're taking a long route for the track, and it's undoubtedly slower, but maybe that was the secret to them localizing so well. This competition wasn't about winning or losing. It was about the lessons we learned, the fun we had, and the friends that we made along the way. But it doesn't feel satisfying to end my video on such a note. I knew that my algorithm was so much more capable than what was showcased in this competition.
I guess in the end it just came down to this map, which is extremely frustrating.
There's only one thing left to do. I got my hands on a second RC car, and as soon as I got back to Waterloo, I strapped an FPV system onto this RC car, and then I raced it.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
From Lewis Hamilton, who's trying to fight back.
No DRS for 2 laps, so Lewis Hamilton will not get the rear wing open. Now he's going to go down the outside.
What is he gonna do? What is he gonna do? I'm on your racing line, boys. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
外からじゃ絶対抜けねえぜ。インに行け。
お前はもう死んでいる。
Oh! What's up, dude?
He's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton sees it coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead. Surprise, mother.
Sit tight and knee, but he hasn't. He's got a little bit wide.
The overtake on.
Down the back straight, he's got a slipstream. He almost touches Verstappen. They almost make contact.
If Verstappen keeps it tight and neat, but he hasn't, he's gone a little bit wide.
Oh, got him! Oh,
No, Mikey, no, Mikey. They must slow down.
Come here, boy. Come here, boy. Safety is number one forward.
We're done. We're done. I'm no more today. Thank you for watching, guys. I did not win, but at least I drove this car pretty fast. So yeah, see you guys in the next video.
Oh my god, it was so cool!
This is really funny.
Whoa.